Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB Zack Brown. Got a lot of racing action to go over with you, and then get into the preview of another big racing week in dirt racing and all of asphalt racing. So let's get to it. Alright, the race that just happened, we're going to go over it. Martin Truex Jr. gets the win at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Big win for him, marking his third of the year. Call him Monday Martin. 2 out of 3 Monday races this year. He's taking the checkered flag. Good for Martin Truex and that entire 19 team. They are on a roll, and like I've said earlier, I still think they are the championship favorites. And such a flat track like New Hampshire is, very similar to how Phoenix can drive. Probably not going to be as hot and slick as Phoenix might be, but I think it's still a good indicator and possibly a good precursor of what might be coming come November. So keep watching out for Truex. I think he's going to get at least a couple more wins before the season ends, and good chance he locks himself into the Final Four. Overall, I mean, he dominated the race. He deserved to win that, and those cautions came out late, and he was like, come on, stop wrecking, and it was just a matter of time. He had the fastest car. All he had to do was just make no mistakes at the end, and just hope tires were staying intact, and nobody really deliberately wrecked him. And he was just so fast, nobody could even really get close to him to even try to get a bump and run or anything. Joey Logano gets second, and Kyle Larson gets third. Larson worked through the entire day. He was about mid-pack at the beginning of the race, and they kept adjusting on it. Used some strategy to get up front with 2 tires, and was able to get a good top 5 and get back on good, consistent, good finishes. So just having some bad luck at Atlanta killed that momentum that team had. But I still think you'll also see them start making a good run and getting possibly another win or two before the playoffs even start. Joey Logano, that was the pick all of us made, and had a good run. It's been a little while since he had a really good, solid finish like that and was in contention to win the race. So can never count out Joey in that 22 team. He's a 2-time champion for a reason. They will figure it out, and they will start making a good run at it. Overall, it's hard to really watch a Monday race when you're working and everything. It was good from what I saw back in the pack, besides Truex just dominating, but there's 3 wide, there's even 4 wide at some point. I think with this new car and this package, it's definitely improved New Hampshire a lot. New Hampshire's generally a snooze fest. If anybody's watched it, back in, 2000 or something, when Jeff Burton had the restrictor plate race in New Hampshire and led all 300 laps. I mean, nobody wants to see that. So, as a testament to NASCAR and what they've been able to do with this car and this package at these tracks that are generally pretty boring. So it's improving, and it's getting better each week. I think they keep figuring it out. The brakes held up way better than they did at the other flat track out there in St. Louis at Gateway. And that was one of the concerns for the teams, if these brakes would explode like you saw constantly out there. I don't think the brakes were used as hard, and it wasn't as hot in New Hampshire as it was in St. Louis that day. So, again, I think it was good for the Cup Series to have a good race like that. Too bad it wasn't on a Sunday where you could see it all, but the parts that I was able to tune into, it was a pretty good race and a good crowd for a Monday in New Hampshire, so definitely awesome to see that. But Martin Truex Jr. gets to kiss the lobster and enjoy this win on a track that he's always wanted to win at, been coming to since he was a kid, so awesome for him, awesome for that team. Going to the Xfinity race, it was another dominating race, but a lot of cautions filled this race. Those cars just, it's a little harder to drive on New Hampshire, and the drivers just aren't as skilled as the Cup teams, and it shows again. A lot of cautions, a lot of wrecks. John Hunter's having another dominating year, his 4th win of the year. I mean, he's the best driver. He's a championship favorite in Xfinity, hands down. And Toyotas in the Xfinity Series are just super fast, and it's definitely going to be hard to pick against them, really, moving forward. So congrats to John Hunter, and Joe Gibbs had the sweep this weekend. All right, what everybody wants to talk about, we're going to get into it right now. The big races at Eldora. We're going to talk about the Eldora Million with that humongous crowd that was there, and the Kings Royal, how the biggest crowd that Eldora's ever had is insane. The 50-50 at the Million was over $100,000. Insane. I don't know how much it was for the Kings Royal, so if you know how much that was the Kings Royal, comment down below, let me know. I didn't get to catch all of the Kings Royal, but I caught the Million, and it was really cool to see how all those cars, I think it was 83 cars that were signed up. It was absolutely incredible sight, amazing for dirt racing. The big news of the week was Anthony Macri stepped away from the 39M Macri Motorsports sprint car, and Lance DeWeese got called up to race in Eldora, and he decided to race the entire week and attempt to try to get the Million in the Kings Royal. Had some struggles during the Eldora Million and everything. Not able to make the race, but he doesn't really race Eldora. It's not a track he's used to. It's also a chassis he's never raced before, and his car he's never raced before. Everything's completely different. It's just it would take time to adapt to that. You don't just hop in right away, a car you're unfamiliar with, and expect to win that race. In general, there's very rare drivers that could probably do that, but it's still very difficult to do. But happy for Lance to take that opportunity, and it's definitely a really cool thing to at least compete to be in the biggest purse race in sprint car history. So that was really cool. But it was all about Logan Schuchart. Both days for the Million, he was just dominating. Fastest car, and just gets a start on the pole based on all the points he got, and he never looked back. He led the entire race and was able to keep the lead. And that's the biggest thing, fighting through the lap traffic. Have luck go on your side, because the restarts were crazy there. I mean, you're racing for $1 million, yeah, the restart's going to be crazy. So Logan Schuchart gets that big-time $1 million, $1,000,2023 win, just for Shark Motorsports. That entire team, just really cool to see, and definitely confidence booster big time there. And I bet they celebrated pretty hard there. Let's talk about the Kings Royal. Obviously, there's the night before, and then there's the Kings Royal. And Mother Nature delayed the race, and it ended up being a very late night for all the drivers. But the track was bad fast. I mean, very fast. It was so fast it was using up so much fuel consumption that they had to have basically a competition caution to fill up on the fuel and everything. But it was another who can start on the front row and who can start on the pole. And Donnie Schatz was able to put himself in that position and just dominate the 40th Kings Royal. So King Donnie the 40th is now what he is called, his 6th Kings Royal win. Really big standout, though, was Lance DeWeese making his first Kings Royal. Had some issues and fell to the back, but he was able to finish and compete in his first Kings Royal that he made. So really cool to see that. But Donnie Schatz, we've all talked about it. Tracks are getting slicker. It's getting summertime. It's getting hotter. He knows what's going to take to make the final stretch. So he's creeping up a little bit in points. He's got some ground to make up. He's over 200 points behind the leader, David Gravel, who's got a very small lead over Brad Sweet after Brad Sweet very surprising, was not able to make the King's Royal. Also, the $1 Million Man, Logan Schuchart, was not able to make the King's Royal as well. So pretty crazy right there, and how the inverts and all of that worked for the King's Royal. Some people were happy, some people were complaining about it. You just got to take the format, what you're given, and you just have to. I mean, I hate to say it, but you got to be better. And those are great drivers, and things happen sometimes in dirt racing. And very unusual to see them not make it, but it is one of the most prestigious events in all of motorsports now. So definitely cool to see that crowd. Great for that speedway. Great for sprint car racing. Great for dirt racing. Tony Stewart, awesome job promoting this thing. Thank you for giving the dirt racing community such an awesome event. It was incredible to watch on TV. I can't even imagine how awesome it was to see in person at Eldora. I wish I could have been there. Hopefully this is not a once-in-a-lifetime event, the $1 Million one. Hopefully there will be another one in the future, and have a humongous turnout again, and might have to book tickets to that one. So we'll see how it goes in the future, but Outlaws are coming up, and they're heading to Pennsylvania, and we'll talk about that a little later on when we get my dad, Jeff Brown, on for a Crew Chief Corner. All right, we'll talk about a little bit of IndyCar and drag racing. The IndyCar had a first-time winner in the sport, Christian Lundgaard. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. I'm sorry if not. First-time win for Bobby Rahal. Big-time win for them. He was fastest all weekend, and he was pretty stoked. He's so happy that he shaved off his mustache in victory lane. So a little bit of a different celebration right there, but it was pretty cool. Making the podium, second was Alex Palou, who's been having an incredible year. His lead is just continuing to increase, and big-time favorite to win the championship. And then Colton Herta was in third place for Andretti. So IndyCar's actually racing back-to-back coming up in Iowa, and we'll also discuss that here later in the show. And in NHRA drag racing, the 4 different winners, I was right on 2 of them, so I take pride in that one. Gage Herrera back on top in the pro stock motorcycles. Another dominating performance, and after his off race where he didn't win, the one race he didn't win, gets back on top and takes the checkered there. And Troy Coughlin wins the pro stock race. Matt Hagan, I was right. Matt Hagan wins the funny car, and Clay Millican takes the top fuel. That's the first race. I was in Colorado of their Western swing. They're heading to Washington coming up this weekend to continue the West Coast swing in those races. I think that about does it for everything. One thing to break is Sunshine Tyler Courtney of the All-Star Circuit of Champions, the All-Star Circuit of Champions point leader, is out indefinitely with a back injury. It was announced that Anthony Macri was stepping in to assume the duties for Sunshine in the All-Star races and the World of Outlaw races that he was scheduled to race. So after being out of his family's team, comes back and gets the opportunity to race in this. I think it's really great opportunity for Macri to showcase his skills week in and week out against the All-Stars, and then a little bit with the World of Outlaws. I think this is where you can get the exposure he needs, and he can likely get an offer to race full-time in the All-Stars next season. So we'll see that. Stay tuned for that. But again, Anthony Macri stepping in for the injured Sunshine Tyler Courtney for all the All-Star and World of Outlaw races. All right. Well, without further ado, let's bring in my dad, Jeff Brown, to another episode of Crew Chief Corner. And as always, Crew Chief Corner, is brought to you by Lickety Lou's All-Purpose Booyah Sauce. 3 different flavors: spicy, original, and yellow. Check them out at licketyloos.com and see all the awesome stuff they have to offer for you. All right, let's dial them up. Jeff Brown for Crew Chief Corner.
Dad, we're back at it for another week, previewing the races coming up. Real quick, I just want to hear what you thought of the Eldora Million and the Kings Royal, since those were 2 humongous races.
The races themselves were actually pretty good. It was good racing. It was tight racing, and those guys, for $1,000,000 and then 175,000, they were running the crap out of those cars. They ran it hard. Thoughts to go up to Tyler Courtney. He was in a bad wreck, has a back injury. Hopefully he's back before too long. But that track, you crash out there, you're flying around that track. Even when it's slick, it's still fast. But it was it was good racing. It had multiple grooves. You were running the top, people were running the bottom. The biggest complaint was the track prep. They had that giant hole going into turn 1, which is what caused most of the crashes. And I don't know how through all 4 nights they could never seem to get that any better.
Yeah, especially after the rain that they had on the Kings Royal Day. You would have think they would have time to get that kind of situated, but I guess not. But yeah, it's good racing. Talked
Huge
about it
crowd.
earlier. That was amazing. I don't know what the 50-50 at the Kings Royal was, but the Million was over 100,000, so that's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
and Eldora does it pretty cool. You can buy your tickets online, so you don't have to be there, but you do have to be from Ohio.
Yeah, that's
or you have to be in Ohio to buy them. You don't have to be from Ohio.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I couldn't imagine how getting out of that place that day. It was tough enough when we went there for the truck race.
Right.
We thought it was packed for the truck race. We were wrong.
No, there was twice as many people there for that stuff.
Insane.
That was.
But I said it earlier. Hats off to everybody there. That was just amazing. Just promoting that thing, and just hopefully it's not a once in a lifetime thing. Hopefully they'll go back to it.
Yeah, I think I don't think they want to take the prestige from winning the Kings Royal Way by having that race. So maybe once every 4 or 5 years or something, have a special, some kind of a thing, or if it falls on certain anniversaries or something like that, maybe have something like that. But it was cool. I mean, it was something to try, and hats off to Tony for putting something like that together.
Well, we're previewing a lot of racing action heading this week. Outlaws don't get much of a break. All-Stars had a break. I mean, most of them raced at the Eldora Million and the Kings Royal. But for points for situations, they've had about 2 weeks off. But they're making up for it for 4 races this week. And they're starting off at Lernerville tomorrow. I don't know if anybody's raced at Lernerville that we've discussed yet this year. I don't know if the Outlaws are done racing there this year. I know High Limit goes there later, but All Stars heading there. I don't know if they raced there earlier this year. I don't think so.
I don't think so. The Outlaws had a falling out with Lernerville, from what I understand. They haven't been back in the last I don't know how long. But Lernerville's a neat little track in Sarver, PA, Western PA. No guardrails other than the front stretch and a little bit like off of turn 4, so you can run off on the side. And when the track's right, it's fast. It's a racy track. It's a good track for sprint cars.
And for those who don't know, what makes this track pretty unique compared to a bunch of normal dirt tracks with the fence?
Yeah, just you'll see guys, you get pushed up, they'll run off the back. You might see them disappear, and all of a sudden they pop back up halfway down the backstretch again, get back on the track, and never back off the gas. It's pretty neat when it comes to that.
And that track you've been to before?
Yeah, I've been there several times.
Well, and I talked about it earlier. The big news was Anthony Macri stepping in for Tyler Courtney at all the All-Star races and the Outlaw races they had scheduled on their calendar. So that'll be interesting how he does. And I mentioned it. It's a great opportunity for Macri to showcase his skills and possibly end up in a full-time All-Star ride next season. So be, like I said, interesting to see. He fitted his seat today at the shop, so we'll see what happens.
That's a good pickup for them. You know, it's a good car. You know, and he's a gasser. I don't think he's going to have any trouble.
Yeah.
Getting in and going fast in that car.
Well, the thing with fortunately for Tyler Courtney, he's got a little bit of a lead in the point stands. I don't know how long he's off, but he's got a little bit. He might not fall out too much if he returns before too long, but we don't really know how serious the injury is. Obviously, hopefully he gets back to 100%. If he doesn't feel like it, he doesn't need to push it and race this year.
Yeah, and the All Stars, I mean, I can name about 3 that are going to probably run the whole season in the All Stars for sure. It's you know, he may not miss out on too much. It's right now they're a little hard to predict who's going to be running with them and who's not going to be running.
Yeah.
And the last time we picked like Corey Eliason, and you know he wasn't running with them. So.
I picked Justin Peck, and he hasn't raced on certain ones.
Yeah.
Just kind of depends. We'll go chronologically here with the All Stars and dive into Outlaw action. Lernerville, who you got? We can't take the easy way out this week, so I've got to kind of do some digging on this one. So who you got?
I don't know if I'm digging too far on this one. He's probably, if he hasn't been the second best car, he's probably been close to the best car. Multiple wins. I got Zeb Wise.
I'm going with a National Sprint Car Hall of Famer, the Steel City Outlaw, Tim Schaefer, for this one.
That's a good pick. He does get around Lernerville very well.
I would assume this is more or less a home track for him then.
Yeah, I would assume. I don't know exactly. I know he's from Aliquippa. I don't know exactly.
Can't be that far
these towns
from.
are.
Yeah, I mean it's Western.
That's out in Western PA where they call soda pop and all that weird stuff. So.
All right, and All Stars the next night they're racing. They're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're going to 34 Raceway, where actually it was just announced that the World of Outlaws are not going to be racing that race since it got rained out. They just decided to cancel it altogether. But the All Stars are going to race there this weekend. I think they raced there earlier this year.
It's a little unusual that they're racing Lernerville, and then they're going the whole way to Burlington, Iowa. So you're talking 18-hour tow probably to get out there.
Luckily, they have a few days at least.
Yeah. It's not like it's the night after, but it's that's one of them. I remember we talked about the track before. It's a 3/8. They call it semi-banked. It's sort of like a long straightaway, tight corners, 3/8 mile. It's not a round one. It's actually a pretty neat track. It looks a little narrow maybe. So I think starting up front's probably going to be a key to that one.
Yeah, and it's a shame the Outlaws didn't get to race there because it would have ended up being a really good show and everything with the Outlaws going there. I mean they've put on good shows. I don't think they actually have been to 34 this year. Not the All Stars. I was just trying to see who was. Yeah, they have not been there. So this is their first race at 34. So we'll actually get to see it in action this year. Then, who you got for 34 starting off the weekend?
Yeah, so this was a tough one. I just took a crapshoot on this one. I just wanted to be. Right now, the easy picks for Zeb Wise probably in most of these, but I'm gonna do Chris Windham. He's been running strong. He's right up there in points.
I'm taking the easy route as you just suggested. Zeb Wise is my pick for 34. I don't even need to go into that. It's easy pick.
Yeah.
And I thought he was gonna have a little bit better of a run at Eldora, but I think you'll see him make up for it here in these next few races. Next race, they are heading to Spoon River Speedway.
Canton, Illinois, they call it a 3/8 mile semi-banked. On video, it looks very similar to what 34 Raceway shape-wise. I couldn't find any video of Outlaws or All-Stars, so I don't know if any of them's ever run there. From what I've seen, the lighting is terrible, and you can't see So hopefully they bring in some. If they're going to have show this on flow and being broadcast, they better bring in some portable lighting or something like that, because you can't see the cars going around. We complain about dust in Ohio, and this is just going to be dark.
Yeah, it might be a little bit better with Flo jumping on board there and stuff.
It could be.
Well, again, similar to 34. Who you got for Spoon River?
I'm going for a bold pick. Third race in the car, Anthony Macri. I figured none of them have ever run there before. I think he can time trial just right, and he's going to run the snot out of that thing. So it's we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. I say he picks up the win in his third start.
I'm going back-to-back winners here. Zeb Wise again for Spoon River. I mean, similar racetracks, and probably now the front runner to win the championship. I got to go with them. And they're actually racing Sunday, so 4 races in a row, 3 races in a row, days in a row, and then 4 races all together.
Yeah.
Red Hill Raceway.
Yeah, Sumner, Illinois. They call it a 3/8 mile. They call it a high banked oval. They normally run those what are they called, UNP modifieds out there. Mm-hmm. So it's like New York tracks. The corners are very wide because you got those bigger cars. So, and it's a little hard to tell watching them how much banking is in that thing. So if it's a high bank similar to like Atomic Speedway in Ohio, I think the sprint cars are gonna fly around that track. It looks like it's pretty good shape. They said it's the first time the All-Stars were visiting the track, so it's another one. It's no notes on this thing, so it's anybody's game.
Be very interesting to see it for sure. And so who's your pick for another one that they haven't raced that yet?
Right. So I went with the easy pick on this one. I got Zeb Wise.
I kind of went with more of a dark horse. If you look at the point stand, he's not really a dark horse. He's pretty good this year. I'm going with JJ Hickle.
Okay.
A little bit different, just trying to shake things up. One thing to add, though, Lernerville is the Don Martin Memorial Silver Cup, and it's for $25,000 to win. So that's really big for the All-Stars.
That's a big purse for the All-Stars. I know that was used to always be an outlaw show, so I don't know exactly what happened with them and the falling out. But that's also probably why High Limit's coming there, since the Outlaws aren't running there.
And that'll be exciting to also see the High Limit Series race there. That'll be definitely a good show as well. We'll get to that when it gets closer as well. And High Limit's starting back up again next week at Grandview, so we'll dive into that when the time comes. And it'll be actually interesting because they race I believe, the same day as All-Stars, unless it's the 25th. It might be the 25th that they race. But I'll look at it next week because I'm not prepared for High Limit right now to talk about it. Staying on dirt, the World of Outlaws invade Pennsylvania once again, going against the PA Posse, starting off at Baps, also known as Susky, on Wednesday, and then Friday and Saturday, a doubleheader at Williams Grove. Outlaws at Susky. How often have they gone to Susky?
I don't think they've been there very often. I can remember with Eric, we raced. It was an outlaw show at Susky, and I think they've only been there maybe a few times since. So it's it's a good race for them to get the Outlaws in there. Hopefully they can get enough people to fill the stands and make it a good show. The one thing about BAPS is they normally get the show through pretty quick. It's middle of the week, so people got to get up and get to work. So that race will probably be over by 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that be interesting for sure. Hopefully the track's prepped up, ready to go, and Mother Nature will help us out and everything. So your pick for the first race against the PA Posse Outlaws invading their territory?
I'm going to go with. There was a couple PA cars I have a shot. Dietrich runs good there. Freddie runs good, but I think Outlaws are going to take us one with Brad Sweet.
I agree. I think Outlaws will dominate this week.
I do too.
Overall, I'm going with. I think it's a good racetrack for him. David Gravel. I think it's fits his style of racing. I think it'll be good for him to race there. Moving on to Williams Grove on Friday night.
So Friday night, it's 2-day show for the Outlaws. It's the race Friday's the track's probably going to be a little better than it is Saturday. It'll probably be pretty slick. So for Friday, again, I got an Outlaw sweep in Pennsylvania for this week. So Friday night, I got Carson Macedo.
I'm being invaded by Transformers and stuff. So, if anybody hears that, it's just my son playing with some sort of scorpion. So, I've got another Outlaw going, taking the win on Friday night. King Donnie the 40th, Donnie shots for my Friday night.
Yeah, the one thing with Williams Grove, just the way the track is, I'm predicting not as good of a race as we've seen with the Outlaws. The track just, I think the bigger the track, probably during the worse the racing is. I think somebody
it's harder to catch
front.
That is harder to catch up to lap traffic as much.
Yeah, it's Williams Grove's wide. You can pass. So it's that way you get out front. You all of a sudden you build a 3-second lead. You're in the lap traffic. You can be a little more cautious to when. A small track, you might have a half a second lead, and you really you got a split decision to make that. So it makes it a little more interesting.
And I don't think they are having too much rain up there, which is surprising. It's been raining so much up there. Has had so many canceled shows. So if it decides to rain, that might shake things up a little bit and help the track for the second night. But moving into the second night, you said you got an Outlaw sweep. Who are you going with to finish off the Outlaw sweep?
David Gravel.
And it's such a tight points battle right now. It's going to be it's shaking up to be an amazing championship finish right now. So I've actually got a PA guy right now. Probably he raced out in Eldora. Wasn't the fastest car, but he also is his first Kings Royal race he's made. I'm going with Lance DeWeese. I think if he gets lucky, that's one track he's not afraid to run a little bit harder because he's the winningest driver there. So,
and for everyone, he is back in the 69K for Susky and Williams Grove the rest of the season now.
I don't think Macri Motorsports has announced a replacement full-time driver yet.
I didn't see anything yet.
I'm sure that's to come. I'm sure that'll be probably this week, or it might be while we're talking right now. That they're announcing something. It wouldn't surprise me. So that does it for dirt racing. Heading back onto asphalt, we'll start with drag racing, going to Washington. So
Pacific Raceways in Kent, Washington.
Yep, just race Seattle. Just race at Colorado, and now you're heading to Seattle. I'm sure it's probably a night and day difference between the two climates here and how the track's going to be.
Well, last week in Colorado, the track's over 5,000 feet altitude. I checked this track in Washington. It is 308 feet.
So it's a little bit different.
So right now, just looking at the weather, calculating density, altitude, which is the whole thing with humidity and temperature, they're only at 1,600 feet, and calculating all that in just at the base altitude at Denver, they're only a third of the way up. So it's definitely going to be changing their tune-ups going to Seattle for sure.
Well, one thing you also got to think about with Seattle is weather. And if the track's going to be just getting back from wet weather the entire week, moisture in the air, that's definitely a factor to take into consideration. And Colorado, they had their a track record set in top fuel and qualifying by Brittany Force. So very likely you could see another track record here this week in Seattle. So we'll see how all that goes.
Especially with Brittany. Last week we were saying you might not see the cars over 320 miles an hour, and then Brittany goes out and runs a 337. Made us look dumb on that one. But So yeah, I could definitely see, especially she's definitely got the big speed in qualifying. Really hasn't turned into any race wins yet, but yeah, I could see another track record fall. That thing's making big time horsepower.
All right, the 4 series are all going back here. So who you got in Pro Stock Motorcycle?
Probably got the same guy, Gage Herrera.
Yep, I went out on a limb. It's
I'm out on a limb on all 4 of these here. I'm telling you right
now. All right, who's your Pro Stock?
Hey, looks like she's back. Eric Anders.
I'm actually going with Greg Anderson on this one.
Okay.
And funny car?
Ron Capps.
And I'm going with Robert Height and funny car. And Top Fuel.
Top Fuel, I got Justin Ashley.
At least we're different in all but one. I got Steve Torrance.
Okay.
So we'll see how all that shakes up. Actually, that's probably the best I've actually done in drag racing on the last picks. So
yeah, you had a good race on that one.
All right, and I don't think really we did too well on our picks last week at all. So
no, not.
I mean, Logano got second today, so that was right on that one. Other than that, pretty much we did not do well.
I didn't get Mom's pick for Cup yet, so.
Oh, you can yell at her in a second. All right, IndyCar at Iowa. This is we kind of talked about it a little bit last week, and I love this track. I love it in iRacing too because I'm good at it. But it's just a really cool track, and fans love it. They'll pack the place, and IndyCar doesn't get a whole lot of sellouts. So this will definitely be a sellout, mainly because what else are you going to do in Iowa? But I mean, the doubleheader race Saturday, Sunday, and can be completely different races, different people up front, and how they can. Basically, with this, if you don't get into trouble, because you can't bump and bang at this track in IndyCar.
Oh, no.
If you bump, you are done. So talk about a little bit how IndyCars are different than like the traditional NASCARs here.
Well, it's the track's a banked 7/8 mile, and with the downforce and the power the IndyCars have, they look like sprint cars going around like a 3/8 mile. They'll turn that track in like 15, 16 seconds. It's crazy how fast they are, and open wheel. So you definitely, you can't, there's no banging in IndyCar. NASCAR, you can get in, you could rub and bang fenders and come out too wide. IndyCars, you do that, somebody's going for a ride, and that track's so fast, it's it can be a challenge, but I think you're going to see lots of passing for that one because they're going so fast. They're actually going to, even on a small track, they're going to get a draft. So you're going to see multiple lead changes. This is probably going to be the best racing of the year. Hopefully, you could find it on TV. I know it's on Peacock.
Yep, the Cop.
But here's some interesting stuff about Friday is free family day. They have a pit stop challenge. It's all free to see.
That's cool.
And it says Saturday qualifying for both races. It's at a unique format, which they don't explain. So I guess you have to watch that. Pre-race concert Saturday is Carrie Underwood. Post-race concert is Kenny Chesney for Saturday.
I mean, that's huge for IndyCar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When we're not done. So Sunday, pre-race concert, no relation, Zack Brown Band. And the post-race is Ed Sheeran.
Well, that's random. Okay.
Yeah, let's have country, and then whatever the hell he sings. But still, I mean, that's some pretty big names getting them in there to Iowa.
Yeah, for an IndyCar race.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, if you're going to that one, you shoot. Go see Carrie Underwood's worth the price right there.
Yeah, I mean her, and then you also her concerts itself are crazy expensive, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, you're gonna have the all the spectacles and everything, but it comes down to who's gonna win, and it's 2 days of it. So, who's gonna win first night for you?
First race, I got Scott Dixon.
I'm going with the championship point leader. Alex Palou thinks he gets back up on the winning horse after he did not win. He got second last week, so failure, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know how he is at ovals. That's why I didn't pick him for either ones. I know Scott Dixon's won here before.
I know
I'm sure he's good.
I know he's won an oval. I just don't. Well, he was the Indy 500 champion, but I don't know what other. I think he's won another one, but I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
Moving to Sunday, I'm assuming it's going to be around noon because they don't want to go against NASCAR, which is at 2:30. So probably around noon on both races.
2:30 Eastern time.
Oh, so they're both the same time. Okay, so they did a smart job there.
Yeah, 1:30. Everything's in Central Time, so yeah, 2:30.
Go figure there, NBC.
Like I said, doesn't mention what channel they're on TV, so who knows? I couldn't.
I mean, it's definitely on Peacock. They all stream on Peacock or whatever.
Yeah, it's
else
on. They have the broadcast on
possibly NBC
Sirius
Sports
XM
app.
IndyCar channel, but
Could be an NBC Sports app, maybe. I don't know. But day two. Who you got for that one?
Joseph Newgarden.
I mean, that'd be cool if they race at night there. That'd be fun. They got lights.
Yeah,
that would make an even more interesting race, I think. But I've got your pick for night one is Scott Dixon is my pick for the second day.
All right, cool.
All right, so moving on to the NASCAR series. Yep. And I just had to make sure there was nothing else that we were missing, but heading to the big headliners of the weekend, Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle.
Yeah, it's interesting track. I'd be shocked if there's no rain for any of these races. It seems like even when there's not screwed up weather, they're up in the Pocono Mountains. You're just going to get rain.
Yep.
I wonder how these fires from Canada are going to affect. Which didn't notice anything in New Hampshire last week. I don't know how it's going to affect anything at Pocono, if anything at all. But it's tough, tricky track.
Hence the name.
Yeah, it's one of them. It could, I think, it's going to maybe favor some of the veterans a little more. Just you got 3 different corners, super long straightaways. You're not going to be good the whole way around the track. So, one corner you might be great, next corner you might suck.
And I think all the series you'll actually see downshifting. I think you traditionally will see it. You've seen it with all of them.
In Cup, you might see 2 gears.
I think they on turn 3 they downshift twice. If a lot of them would do. I mean, some of them will go 1. You'll see that's how they'll mix it up and whatever they're really comfortable with.
Trucks and Xfinity are only going to shift 1.
Yeah, in both series of those, especially trucks, again, it comes down to it's going to come down to restarts and then how you cannot crash on those restarts and how you can avoid the wrecks. How it is the entire year, you're going to have to be up front. So good qualifying effort for both those series is going to be crucial, and not always the most amount of passing at Pocono. So definitely,
it could be a real stinker till you get some cautions. That's for sure. Restarts are definitely exciting.
Yes.
Get 4 or 5 wide going down that front stretch into turn 1. You better funnel that down to 2 wide before you get in there. Trucks may have a little hard time figuring that out.
Well, Truck Series, you're talking about veterans getting around. Are you picking a veteran for the?
No, I really didn't.
Oh, okay.
That's just sort of a crapshoot. I got Chandler Smith.
All right. I do have a veteran. We'll see if he starts getting hot and can lock himself into the playoffs. I got Matt Crafton.
I have that in parentheses back here on my notes.
The Xfinity Series, they're racing right after the trucks. So trucks are 2:30, and Xfinity's at 5:30.
I tell you what, they're going to be pushing it for daylight up there.
I think 8:30 is about sunset up there. So I think they'll be fine. It's a little. They'll be fine. Maybe
assuming they don't have any weather.
Well, that and if they don't crash 1,000 times.
Yeah, now I do have a veteran for this one. I picked him last week. didn't do great for me, but I got Justin Allgaier.
I'm going a dark horse here. Like, I'm questioning if I should do this. He's got to win sooner or later in his career. I've got Sheldon Creed.
Okay. Dirt track guy.
We'll see. It seems like if he's leading, he's going to have an issue. It's luck. It's too much of his luck is bad luck. And for the Cup Series, they used to do the dual races up there a couple years ago, and
that was actually kind of neat.
And how they inverted the field and stuff. So
yeah, and
or
I think
to
this,
the
I think this is the only trip they make this year to Pocono. I think it only run so.
Which I think's fine. I don't think you need to wear out Pocono too much.
Yeah, like I said, the racing's usually kind of boring.
I'm fine with the two.
It packs the place because it's a big market. Pennsylvania, they like their racing.
I'm fine with the two 250-mile races. I like those better.
Yeah, but
it's 400-mile race. They shortened it down from 500, which is good because it's got you're
500 was way too long.
Well, then you're gonna
around that track.
You're gonna race against the rain. It's one if not all these races you're gonna race against the rain.
Yeah, so and Pocono is one of those weird tracks where it kind of races like a road course, and my pick's sort of good on those obscure road courses like the Daytona road course and the Roval.
Who you got?
I got Christopher Bell.
All right, well, I got another dirt racing guy. He should have won here a couple years ago, but goes in the last corner and gets a flat tire, of course. But the 2021 champion, I got Kyle Larson for this one.
Yeah, I learned to pick him. He really hasn't. I mean, he did get third today.
They haven't been
that dominant fast like they,
But
when he wins, he's fast the whole race. So.
Well, the one thing is though, they the only outside top, I think 5 that they've had in the last 5 or 6 races was Atlanta, where he crashed. So, consistency is key. But I mean, I've been saying it. Martin Truex is going to be the favorite now between him and Byron. But I mean, Truex is just.
He definitely elevated his game.
They got it figured out right now, big time. And that's good to see because he was definitely down on himself after last year. So
yeah, I like Truex. Not a fan of Joe Gibbs. Kind of wish he was racing for somebody else, but good for Truex.
Yeah, he was very happy today. That was kind of his home track. He said this first track he's ever been to. He was ever at when he was a kid. So he definitely liked that one. He's glad to win that one. Did Mom ever get up with you? Who she picked?
Mom picks Kyle Busch.
Okay. Well, that might be a big bounce back because he finished dead last at New Hampshire. Had a bunch of issues all weekend. So, all right. I think that does it. We'll see how all the picks go. If you like this, got any questions, subscribe on YouTube channel. Leave a comment down below. Check out all the other stuff on the channel. Go check out the other podcast. The only one right now is the iRacing, but coming soon. If you like football, Touchdown Talk will be on here in about 2 weeks. So go ahead and check that out and make sure you follow on all social media platforms. All right, Dad. Well, till next week, we'll see you then.
All right, bye.